between the time when the oceans drank Atlantis and the rise of the sons of Arius, there was an age undreamed of. And unto this, Conan, destined to bear the jeweled crown of Aquilonia upon a troubled brow. It is I, his chronicler, who alone can tell thee of his saga. Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
So guys, welcome to the first real true episode of Skulls and Shadows using Conan 2d20. Let me give you guys a handout here. Alright, so welcome. As you know, this is Conan 2d20, and although I've run 2 sessions so far, I'm by far from an expert. But I will do everything in my power to offer you a smooth mechanical experience. That being said, please have patience if we run into something I'm not 100% familiar with. As I've discussed, this is a very player-driven game. If you expect everything to come to you, this game will not be nearly as fun. If you want to do something, please let me know, and a great majority of the time you will be able to attempt that. There are plots happening all the time with your input or without, all the same. The decisions you make will impact the story. This is not Mass Effect 3. It will. There are no right or wrong decisions. Expect consequences for your actions or inaction. Plots will be simple and plots may be complicated, but a great deal of what matters is you involve yourself, and it will be to a varying degree meaning to the story at large. I expect players to be proactive in roleplay. Please do not sit back and be quiet all the time. We all have experience in how VTT RPGs works. There's a turn, a cadence, a notion of opening doors for others to roleplay. That way we can all be proactive with our roleplay while still allowing others to get their chance to shine as well. And if you have any questions, let me know. And let's get on with it. All right. Character stuff. So, this is all common knowledge. For a decade, Emir Ranveer Diknish had planned to take what his grandfather had lost. Before Ranveer, his father had plotted the same. But never had he found the support or funds to attempt such a task, to retake the city-state of Shishan. Ranveer's grandfather had been exiled from Shishan 50 years ago, a pretender to his brother's rule, a rule that was cruel and hated by the people of Shishan. Ranveer's family, the Bahur, plotted their revenge. Decades passed, but until near 15 years ago, nothing was fruitful. Ranvir's father, Hydir, and his men raided a tomb and came upon a great treasure. With this treasure, he raided an army, but it was said the treasure was cursed, and Hydir soon fell ill, leaving Ranvir in charge of his father's affairs. Hydir eventually passed from this world onto the next, and Ranvir would settle the old grievance by laying siege to Shashan with mercenaries and other allies that despised the old king of Shashan. After a protracted siege, someone led a group of warriors called the Lions of Ranvir into the city through a secret entrance. With a small group of men, they were able to throw open the gates and allow Ranvir's forces to enter the city. Afterward, it was a short fight, and the old king was executed by Ranvir's own hand. That was 2 months ago. Now the crucified bodies have all been picked over by the carrion, and peace has been obtained through martial law. There are rumblings of corruption, crime, and discontent among the priesthood of Ishtar, but your position is low, and such things pass ahead like an eagle in the clouds. One more. You live as gypsies outside Shashan. Given grace by the Khan Ranvir, you live in tents and sleep next to the warm fires that keep the desert cold from your bones. The caravan leader is Henwell, a Seproskan from the Far East. He had led his own caravan here in search of respite from a long and difficult migration. Indeed, it was here that he joined forces with Solomon, an Aquilonian trader and merchant recently returned from disaster himself. Solomon made a trek far south to the kingdom of Punt, where the Tayan Mountains, a rockslide decimated his number. Now the two have joined forces and have recruited others also needing a new cause. Your camp is bustling with activity and trade, and although it is not clear, everyone assumes Henwell and Solomon's next move will be coming soon. Any questions about any of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Nope.
I'm going to give you a general bird's eye view of the region. First, get rid of these guys. This large, and you guys should have map handouts as well. You should have a regional map handout, a split map of the city, and Doc, you should have some regional information for yourself.
Yep, I have it right here.
Okay. So this is basically, you can see here, right where I'm pinging, that's Shashan. That's the main point of interest. You can see a detailed version of the actual name of locations on that handout.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, the river in the middle is the river Styx. You are in Shem. Below Shem is Stygia, okay, which are your hated rivals. If you want to think of Shem and Stygia in real life terms, which there is a correlation, essentially Shem is similar to Assyria, and Stygia is Egypt. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so like when you think of like Conan the movie, like all the set worshippers, that's Stygia. All right. You make sure you guys are centered where you need to be.
Yep. Nice.
All right, can everyone see?
Yes.
Yep. Yes.
All right. So, it is in the early months of the year, and your caravan has been idly waiting for its next move for some time. Tonight is a night like many other. Your pay has consisted of what you consume on a daily basis, food-wise, and a place to sleep. Otherwise, there is no gold to give. There is no riches to be had with this caravan currently. But you have food in your belly. What silver you have on you currently is from previous jobs, previous finds of spoils of war. This caravan has been less than fruitful, particularly as of late. Most of you are newcomers to this caravan in one way or another, except Kagan, who came from the east with the chieftain Henwell. And you sit around a fire with several others. You don't know each other particularly well, but you try. And tonight you are having what little ale that you can afford and the food that is supplied by the caravan itself. Around the fire with you, save for those who are characters in this game, are chiefly Hanny. Hanny is the adult son of Henwell and stands to inherit the chieftain of his displaced clan. On his knee are two women, camp followers, Z and Shanu. Not much is thought of them. They're whores and workers of whatever odds and ends that the caravan would need. Also are two others. Two men that came, one from the east and one from the west. Shins is a man that Kagan and Hanny know well, who has followed them from Turin to here. Heiter is a man that has followed Solomon for quite some time. He is a man gifted with things of intrigue, this and that, and simpler things like mending a wagon or knifing someone in the back. Tonight, you all sit together over a spit, or sit next to a fire where the spit has roasted lamb. And now, Shins ends his story of his long road to Shashan. Yes, and that was how I came to this place. The sand in my face, fighting off raiders that took Hanwell's wife. If I was there, no, I would have fought them off, but alas, there were too many and I was surrounded, killing the ones around me. And he kind of spits to the ground next to him, leaving an opening for someone to speak of their background, their days past.
Kagan's face is dark and heavy when he's talking about Hanwell's wife. No, assuming that we're not very close, so you don't know his backstory.
Right.
But yeah, he clings to Chen's words a lot when he talks, and then he hangs his head and shakes it deeply and solemnly. And he just immediately reaches forth and refills his ale and starts drinking it, like he's trying to forget something.
Haroon kind of reaches forward and takes some more ale as well. Well, it is a most interesting story, of course. I must say it is quite an interesting group we have brought together here, isn't it?
And Hanny speaks up. Mostly misfits from what I can tell. And the girls are clinging to his arms, basically. One necking him and really not paying much attention to the conversation as he's kind of just staring across the fire at you.
Haroon smiles.
Kagan's eyes cut hard against the firelight. He's pretty much staring at Hanny like he's no more than a meat on a spit in his mind. He just looks at him, then eventually relents his gaze and fixes his teeth and spits on the ground.
I suppose. But I find misfits are more interesting than common folk, don't you think?
And he shrugs. Perhaps interesting. Perhaps problematic.
Regardless, I find it quite comfortable here, for the time being, of course.
And Melech, he stands up from the group there, and he kind of finishes off a swig of ale. He drops, whatever scraps of food that he was eating. He throws it into the fire, kind of stirs it up a little bit so sparks fly. Interesting or not interesting does not matter to me. I am simply here to protect you. And that is all I will do. Protect you. On a dark night like this, protection is important. I will work for my food. I will work for my drink. And he gets up and starts walking around the perimeter of the group here. We're in the shadows.
As you get up, Hanny kind of waits until you stand and gets like where your eyes wouldn't be looking at him, and he rolls his immediately and kind of says under his breath, "Didn't do a good enough job for the old king, I heard."
Oh. You know something of this, honey?
I hired him, didn't I? Yes. He was a warrior with the old king, defeated by the Khan. Now, well, he serves here in his shame.
Defeated, but he lives again to redeem himself. I'm sure a man like that will find redemption. And Varus would be picking through some of his food and drinking a bit.
I suppose so. He is alive, that is at least something.
That is quite true. There are not many alive from that. Did you see the crosses, the crucifixions? They went on for miles.
Indeed I have. It is most interesting. So many countless dead.
Not much to find interesting about crucifixions, to be completely honest. Death is death, no matter what it looks like.
I suppose. Interesting enough that there's still an operating city around with that many corpses, though. Then again, worse battles have been fought, I suppose.
Wasn't much of a battle, as I heard it. Let in through the back door.
I suppose so. More of a slaughter, isn't it?
And here we are
We
in
were
the
taken
aftermath.
by surprise.
Yeah, Henny kind of looks up.
Dogs came in. Those dogs came over. In there. If our armies would have stood, we would have fought.
Alas, many battles are lost such a way. Easily stabbed in the back. It is the way it goes, after all.
Stabbing someone in the back. That is how a coward wins.
Balloon smiles. Ah, but he wins, does he not?
I'd rather be alive than dead. Matters not how.
Exactly.
I agree with that statement.
You're alive. Why don't you tell me what happened in the battle then, if you're so eager to cast blame on the cowards that came in and snuffed out your old king?
Dogs. They came in through the back door. They took the city by surprise, taking out guards in their sleep. They took out the encampments, the barracks. They came in, wiping out key positions.
Sounds like you were technically outmaneuvered.
Instead of meeting on the honorable soldiers, they snuck in like thieves. Dishonorable cunts. And he spits on the ground.
But, clever cunts, nonetheless, you must admit. They did in fact win, didn't they?
Yes, of course they won. That is why we are sitting here now, outside the gates. That is why I am here, instead of inside the gates, protecting my lord and my master, as I once did. I sit around protecting a bunch of gossipers as they sit around a campfire.
I suppose it is true.
There's no honor in war, old warrior. But I hope you do find the redemption you seek.
Hanny just kind of looks away and says something to one of the girls on his lap and looks back and he's like, "What about you, old man? I've not heard much about you. Just came with 5 other men, all armed and armored."
I suppose that question's directed at me then.
Yeah, he's looking right at you.
I come from Acolonia. I was a soldier for about 3 decades. Started foot soldiers, came up through the ranks. I cut my teeth under command, did my time, lived when others died, became a captain. I had a family I wanted to spend more time with, so I retired while I still had some vigor and could still farm land. Farmed for 5, 6 years. Plague, disease took my wife. I'd always been thinking about picking the sword back up again. Well, she was the only thing that kept me there in truth. My sons are both grown. I have nothing else but this sword now. And my men.
A most interesting story. I must admit, I do not think I would survive long as a farmer. That is for sure.
Yes, farming's more dangerous work than men give it credit for. Nearly break your back pushing a plow or being ran over by cattle. I wouldn't wish it on any man. I'd much rather give him war than give him a hoe or a pitchfork.
I think I would have to agree with you. If nothing else, the boredom would take me sooner.
Didn't mind that too much. Just did miss the thrill of combat, though.
And Melek takes another swig of ale. And he's looking at the fire. Only a crazy man would wish for war.
Perhaps, but all are mad in one way or another.
I'm a bit insane, I suppose, old warrior. But we all have our vices and things that take us. All a man can do is succumb to his virtues and vices, and let them drive his life, try to live the best life that he can. Here I am.
And the fellow in the hood over there, Piter, you know him as, he's chewing on a chicken bone, and he's, "Aye, a blade in the dark, a cock in the day. Whatever it takes, vices. Don't know much about virtues, though. Live your life. Take your fill. Take what silver and gold you can before you're split in twain. Or die by the bite of a rattler, maybe. Who knows?"
You seem to have the right of it. And rather experienced man you must be, to have such a wise view of the world.
You seem to share my views. Is that right?
To some degree, perhaps. But alas, Harun is nothing more than a wanderer of sorts. A guard for now.
Where have you wandered?
Oh, many places. I have found myself all over. Although, I do miss Coraja. A wonderful home it was. But, enough about Coraja. How about you, Peter? Where is it you hail from?
I've hailed from many places, been many places, traveled through many places.
Kindred souls we seem to be.
Cannot say I've hailed from anywhere. Was born a shit stain on my mother's bed. Left me for there. I don't even remember my childhood. All I remember is the first time I drew steel against the throat of the slag who tried to drive me into slavery. I take what I want, I do what I want. It is the life of freedom for me.
A fair sentiment to have, as long as you understand that other men have privilege to your belongings in the same fashion.
Of course.
Indeed. Your blade just needs to be swifter than theirs.
He smiles a partially toothless smile, right? Hanny, at this time, the girls kind of step aside off of him. And he's like, if you'll excuse me, this is a doldrum. I am going to retire for some more exercise.
Well then, do at least get enough exercise for the both of us.
And the girls kind of like both take him arm in arm as the three walk off towards his tent. What do we do?
Kagan's been listening. Kagan's been listening and watching y'all, and he's picked his food, and he takes some scraps of meat and cusps them up and puts them in his pouch around his belt. And when he sees Hanny leaves, he'll pretty much dismiss himself too. He'll stand, and he goes, yes, I too need to retire for the evening. Just listening to you pups has put a drain on my ears. I'm going to go take a piss and check on the camp's perimeters.
As you kind of walk up, Piter's like, I had more to talk to you, old man. Figured you might be interested in, well, devices I'm about to speak of.
Kagan will stop, turn around, and spit. Come back reluctantly and squat down. He goes, your words better be worth it, old man.
Well, they might be worth it or they might not. I couldn't say. But I know that they will be worth it to Chins and I. And he kind of elbows Chins in the side. And Chins just kind of nods. You each clearly have seen the ebony beauty amongst us. The girl from Punt. Umusi, they call her. A princess, they say. Whatever.
Indeed. I know the one. Quite an interesting woman she is.
Yes. I enjoy watching her walk away from me.
You have the right of it.
And
What is your concern with the woman, old man?
Oh, concern? I don't have much of a concern, but Chins and I, well, we were thinking we might have some fun with her before the end. Before she leaves back to that hellhole in the south.
Oh. Be clear in what you speak of, my friend.
He basically just makes one hand goes into a circle, and the other hand's a finger, and he puts the finger in the circle. Is that clear enough?
I suppose so.
I don't care what it is you are after, but as you could see, she is already spoken for.
Wrong one.
Is she?
Did she leave with you?
He looks very confused about what you're saying.
I think Doc thinks that the chick that's with the other guy.
Oh
is
no,
Lucy.
no.
Yeah.
Lumusi. She is from Punt. She is black. She's not one of the people. But that was black too. But no, not
she's
one of
different.
those. Not one of those people.
Not the campfire. This is a
okay.
princess.
I
No,
thought he was talking.
No. There's a princess in camp that I'm sorry. There's a princess in camp that came back with Solomon's caravan from Punt, and that is who he's talking about. I can show you what she looks like.
Yeah, so that's the caravan I'm with, right?
None of you were with the caravan when they went to Punt. Let's see.
But I am my understanding is that I am the security for this that caravan.
You are security for this entire caravan. That is one now. You're not the head of security, but you're part of it. A lot of you are. All of you are, actually.
Yeah, Harun joined up with Solomon.
Yep.
I believe after they went to Punt.
Yeah, everybody besides Kagan, or actually, I'm sorry, anybody from the Hanwell side obviously did not go to Punt. Solomon's side did go to Punt, but all of the people who joined up were after.
Yeah.
And now you guys are a conglomerate of just basically one caravan. So
yeah, I'm not a fan. Varus is probably not much of a fan of this talk, and so upon seeing his intention, I'll probably put my food down and stand and that kind of fun. Well, I'd have to advise against that, Biter, for your own sake.
He looks up at you and he shrugs. To each their own.
And smiles as he looks between the two. Varys does have a point. She does have guards, does she not?
Yes, working on that.
Oh. What
That
do you have in mind?
He kind of looks at you and... Well, I don't think I'll be telling people that are not interested in this sort of thing.
And when he says that, Melik stands up and he unsheathes his bastard sword.
Oh, man.
And he takes it out very slowly, letting it kind of scrape against the scabbard a little bit so you can just hear it pulling out. Then he holds it down at his side. I am here to protect every member of this caravan. I think that includes her as well.
I echo that sentiment. Well spoken, old warrior.
Harun's smile grows a little bit wider as he again watches between everyone.
Fighter he's still chewing on the chicken bone and doesn't stand up. Looks almost... He's got kind of the same sort of smile that Harun does. And he shrugs and he's like, "Oh, very well, Master Guard. No need to get antsy over there."
Did that lady come in as part of Hanwell's retinue, or did she?
No, she. So Solomon went to Punt for some reason. No one has any clue why, and came back with her. So no, the Lumusi has nothing to do with Hanwell's crew. But this all happened before. Now Piter may have went down there. You're not sure when he joined, but it was before all you.
But he's part of Hanwell's crew, correct?
Piter is Solomon, Chins is Hanwell. But they seem to be getting on pretty well. Piter and Chins. Piter just kind of shrugs.
Kagan's not impressed.
Yeah, go ahead. Good, Wolf.
Kagan's not impressed with what Piter brought him back for. He still has to piss. He just looks and shakes his head, but it's not his place because he's not one of our tribe. He looks hard at Chins before he speaks to Piter. He just looks at him, grabs his hand and wrist real tight. He's going, fuck you the feast if you need a fix. Do not dabble in prizes that are not your own. Says, see this hand? It might be the last time you have it. If you wish to kill yourself, then go for it. I hope that our crew of Hanwell's men have better sense than such.
Piter just lets you take his hand and he looks at you blankly, kind of, his smile fading into a very thin kind of gaze. Not a frown, just very kind of blank expressionless stare. And when you let go, he nods. I'll take that under advisement.
Kagan just scoffs and just goes, I have to piss. He gets up and leaves.
He looks at the others. Bladder, prostate issues, no doubt. And he kind of takes a step back. He's like, I am going, Chins. Care to come with me and drink? And Chins nods, and they walk off without another word, leaving you all alone.
Melik raises his voice a little bit as they're walking off.
Mm-hmm.
And if I hear of anything happening to that woman, you will pay for it.
Yeah, they don't respond. They just keep walking into the darkness.
I must say you are both rather virtuous, aren't you?
Some part virtue, some man's got to hold on to something. But it's also my job.
True.
This is what we are brought to this caravan to do.
As it is mine. Although, perhaps, sometimes you catch more flies with honey, do you not?
If that's what guides your life, then I suppose you should stick to it.
I suppose.
But it's not what guides
think
mine.
It may be easier to protect if you know what exactly is going to happen.
They gave me more than enough to know.
I am pretty sure I'd know exactly what was going to happen.
Oh, true. But I do not think he would act in such a way without some sort of plan to go about it without your knowledge. Do you not think? Otherwise he may not have brought it up at all.
I think he just misjudged his company.
Perhaps you are right, perhaps you are wrong. I suppose we will see. If you hear screaming, you know where you were wrong.
I'll leave you two to bicker and go back and forth. I'll reach out to my men. I have to readjust the guard after this night. Fare thee well.
And the night to you.
And I would go and rearrange some guard patrols. I would know what tent she's in or what area she's in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so I would put myself personally on it for my shift and make sure I have rearranged the guard patrols where we have someone out on guard.
Yeah, the Puntans that are her guard make everybody stay a fair amount away, but you can guard it.
That's fine. I would actually speak with them directly as well, if they would be permissive of that.
You could approach them if you wanted.
Yeah.
Just you going, or anyone else?
I would probably bring my sergeant with me, just to look a bit more official. But more or less, it'd be me leading. I'm assuming I don't know that they'd know who I am, but they might have seen me around acting in the capacity that I'm in.
Any other PCs or anybody going?
Everyone is relatively comfortable near the fire, kind of leaning back near it, staying warm while he kind of watches the stars, keeping his ears well open.
Well, I don't know when I would return, but my actions kind of rely on if there's anybody by the campfire or not.
Yeah, when you return, you see Varus standing up and the other two sitting there still.
He'll stop and look around, and he'll ultimately ask you, "Where's Jeans?"
I believe he went off with our friend there.
Peter?
Indeed. I did not
It's
realize.
not going well.
Oh? You think perhaps he is more interested than we were?
I could care less what his intentions are, but he will besmirch the honor of our clan. Family is all, blood is all.
Well, Harun stands up and stretches a long stretch. He's a relatively lanky guy. I suppose I would not mind a walk if you are looking for company to seek your kinsman.
He'll look at you. He does have an eye patch on, by the way. You know he's an archer, but he's a one-eyed archer. And you haven't met him much, but you could swear that the eye patch changes eyes periodically. He just looks you up and down, and he goes, "Yes, a walk with company would be nice."
It is a pleasant night for such a walk, I believe.
Then as they go and do that, Melech would stand up as Varus is walking off and calls to him, "Varus, wait for me. I shall join you."
Very well then, old warrior. Let's proceed.
Alright, let's take care of the Varus Melich thing first. Give me 2 seconds here. I'll teleport you over there. Just
Less than an hour, we've already split the group.
Yeah. Wise. Wisdom.
That like rule one of most games: never split up the party.
I've got meat shields, it's fine. Really expensive and strong meat shields, but meat shields nonetheless.
So, Varus, you collect Arminus
Yep.
and head towards the Puntan tent. Outside the tent, you see one of the guards. You know as Tone is how he pronounces his name. He's a young Puntan man. He's kind of just like sitting outside the tent. And he's just got a little small fire that he's warming his hands out. When he sees you come, he stands up and kind of walks over. What are you doing here? You don't need any visitors, not expecting anyone.
Not here to pay a visit to the princess. Here to provide you with a warning. Something we heard.
What warning is that?
A few misguided souls spoke ill around the campfire tonight. Committing mischief, well, not mischief, even worse. Horrific deeds against your mistress. I came here to provide you with a warning, and also to request that you allow our guards to be around the tent, if at a safe distance, in order to watch over her.
What sort of deeds? Don't speak in riddles.
The man spoke of rape.
His teeth gnash and deep set look of anger. That's so. Who is this man? I'll go kill him myself now.
Not yet. I believe he involves more others in this group. I think we should wait until they reveal themselves. Take them all.
Am I cutting out a lot for people right now?
Not for me. It might be a Doc. Might be your thing, Doc.
It might be Doc's end.
There have been some times where your voice trailed off a bit and you came back, but
Okay.
right now it's not.
Doc, you want to try to just reboot Discord or something? We'll just continue. I'll give you a day. And if I tell Matanga this, he will go into a wild frenzy. There will be nothing to stop him.
I'll give you their names if you tell me you will not provide them to at this time. Give us an opportunity to flush out the rest of these ne'er-do-wells.
He nods slowly. Very well. I'll take the names in case you're killed or otherwise.
And if we're not able to find them, I'll help you kill them myself. Name of Petter and Chins. That is who we know for now.
He nods. The fighter, I have seen him look at Her Highness, very interested. I am not surprised.
He's a dog, but a crafty one. He spoke of plots and plans. I wish, with your permission, to myself, along with my sergeant, stand in rotating patrols around the tent. Again, I understand you request distance, but I merely wish to lend aid. You alone out here by yourself could be overtaken by several men. We would wait in the shadows and assist you if need be.
Fine, keep an eye, but stay away. If Matanga sees you lingering, he will think something is wrong and perhaps blame you for such a deed. Be wise. Matanga is not one to be crossed.
I wouldn't dream of it. Keep a wary out, Tone. And what was it? It's this Ton H? Or how do I pronounce this guy's name again?
Tone is
Tone.
fine. Mm-hmm. He nods and sighs deeply and shakes his head. You back, Doc?
Yeah, he's having some digital issues.
Okay. So he steps back and sits back down by his little fire. And very well, have your men keep watch as best you think, but keep them at a distance.
As you will. I would nod, and Arminius and I would take the first, and then rotate with whoever's next.
Doc, is that better?
Actually, after I get my because I only need to get 4 hours of sleep based on a trait that I have.
Mm-hmm.
After I get my 4 hours, I would probably come back and relieve whoever's on guard at that point. I'm pretty. Boris is not impressed by Peter. He's kind of that kind of man. He's not a fan of.
Yeah. Doc, are you back?
No.
I hear him typing.
Mm-hmm.
Doc, can you hear me?
Transmit but not hear, maybe? Poor guy.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm still some digital from you, though.
It's weird.
Did you close out Discord all the way?
Yeah, make sure you go into your control.
Yeah, because it'll be up in your task manager.
Hear me?
Yep, barely.
Mm-hmm. Control delete it and do it from your task manager to make sure if you can hear that.
Doc.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that right now.
All right.
Okay.
We'll wait for you. Give you.
Well, you can hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Can you hear us?
But are we digital or?
You seem to be okay now.
Okay. If it happens again and you're gonna reset Discord, just control delete and cut it out and then try it that way. But if we're good, then yeah, let's roll.
All right, I'm gonna leave Task Manager up, and if I need to log out of it later, I will.
Okay, now, yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
So,
All right,
so what you
I
missed? Yep, I'll tell you what
I
you missed. So,
basically missed the whole conversation there.
yep. So basically, Varus told him that Peter and Chins might be up to no good, and for what he was going to do. And Tona said that he would go kill them. Varus convinced him not to go do so, but gave him the names. And Varus and his men have offered to stand watch at a distance from this tent. So there you go. That's breaking it down in 30 seconds.
Okay, great. And Melik just kind of stands in the background, kind of stoically letting Varus lead the conversation with Tona. And since Varus actually has men and guards, he's letting him take the lead. And just kind of there as another sword as support.
Mm-hmm. And I would actually approach Melik after the fact. I would know his name, right? Do we introduce?
Oh yeah, you know each other's names. I mean, you're not that new to each other. Yeah, you've met and whatnot.
Melik, as you and I share the same sort of distaste of this sort of man that Peter is, I would ask for your assistance in this matter, but a different kind of assistance.
Well, I'd be more than happy to assist you, if it means making sure that that vile human does not get his way.
I'm glad you see it that way, Melik. What I propose is that my guards and I continue the watch here, and also shadow the princess whenever she moves about the camp doing her business, to make sure that no acts are perpetrated against her to the best of our ability. While you take the offensive, be more proactive, and scout out the goings-ons of Petter and Chins. You seem like a man who has great attention to detail. I wish for you to put that to good use against such a man.
I will keep an eye on him. He will not leave my sight, and I shall know what he is up to and where he is going at all times.
Thank you, old warrior, and be safe.
And Melik walks off to go make preparations for what he knows he has to do.
Okay. So you guys start your guard duties, and we will switch over to the other two. So you guys saw him take off kind of towards the right over there, and it doesn't, as just moving in that direction just a little bit, you can just move in that way. 1 second here. You see both Chins and Piter talking to another guard named Dirk. Dirk is behind where Dirk is a half enclosed, and that's where the camp animals are, the camels and the donkeys, and that sort of thing. What would you like to do? You can see them barely.
It was Kagan and Haroon that were going after him. Right?
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Did I say you guys? I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah.
Kagan and Hargan.
Definitely want to find a shadowy spot and try to overhear what he's talking.
Okay.
If it looks like if he's trying to pour him a drink or something, I have an idea, but I'm curious to what they're doing. If it's an inside job or if they're going to drug the guards or what.
Yep. So you guys can move a little forward and then do stealth checks. Difficulty.
I suppose.
Yeah, that's fine. You can just kind of get in a. Let's do difficulty 1.
Yeah, Haroon takes follows Kagan's lead relatively.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I get 1 automatic success for being sneaky.
Okay.
Oh my god. I'll see.
So, all right. So let's see here. So that's 1 for you. 2 for you. All right. I've added I've added 3 momentum to the pool. Can you see when I add momentum? Can you see that set attribute thing? Probably not. That's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm on click to talk. I'm spending
Okay.
extra momentum to obtain extra information on what they're saying.
I do
Okay.
also gain for living shadow. I gain bonus momentum equal to the ranks, and I have 1 rank. So
Okay, so
Oh,
there's
man.
all right. So I've got it all with Kagan spending his. You have 3 momentum in the pool currently.
Yep.
Okay, so like Kagan, you're kind of like not in the greatest spot to hear because there's the random sounds of donkeys and a camel but Kagan can hear pretty well, it appears, and they don't see you, so they're not being particularly quiet. You can hear Piter say, they won't be any help. Probably a detriment. I should have kept my mouth shut. I thought that Haroun might be one of us. Doesn't look like it. And Chins says, I told you not to ask Kagan. He's an old man stuck in his ways. Never help us do something like this. And what the other guy says, you're not sure. You can't really hear very well. But he looks like he's very angry at the other 2. You can definitely see that. You can see the light kind of like come off his face as he's just giving these guys a ass reaming. So we'll start there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is Kagan going to take the lead on this, or?
Kagan's tempted to fire an arrow into Chenz's head just for talking about treachery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Haroun is watching him closely. He's got his own throwing knives, of course, ready whenever needed, hidden all over the place on him. So he's kind of just waiting to see what Kagan does. That strange smile on his face, as though he's anticipating what it might be about to happen.
You said the dark dude is reaming them out?
Yeah, that's what it appears. You couldn't clearly hear what he's saying, but he's very animated. His face is facing you, and the light over there is kind of shining on it. So,
Probably sounds like he's pissed off that they might have
given
given him away. Yeah.
That they told one of the guard captains? Yeah, probably.
yeah, probably not in retrospect.
This Dirk is one of the Puntan or whatever.
He's the Aquilonian guard.
So he's not assigned with the Hanwell's men, or?
Yeah, not this. Everybody's kind of a blend now. Everybody is under Hanwell technically, but as far as the guard originally, he was originally with Solomon. The amount of the people that came from the east was very small.
Hudson kind of whispers to Kagan, well then, what is it you plan to do?
Wish to kill these dogs.
Hudson's smile grows far too wide. Oh, you speak of interesting things. I
He's
enjoy
referring to his dogs in his house.
Oh.
And eventually, he kind of just walks around and kind of has his back to you as he's talking to them now, like he's like leaving where he was going to be before.
His official report is goes, I have attempted to stop this before it progresses any further. What say you?
I must admit, it sounds most Well, let us be honest. It sounds like a good time. And honestly, it has grown stagnant here. I would not mind some chaos, as a gentle way to put it.
In Kagan's mind, Peter's the one that started all of this. And Peter is one of the Puntan's men.
Peter is Solomon's guy, yeah.
What's the tensions like between Hanwell and Solomon?
Not much, really. Not that you're aware, at least. Hanwell doesn't really fill you in on such things, if there are. But as far as the normal men, it's like whatever.
And that's what he is. He's just like a
yeah.
What is it called? A
Drunk.
liquor.
Yeah.
Lackey.
Yeah. Lackey. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The only person of importance at that bonfire earlier was Hanny.
Kagan's brow will furrow. He's basically in his mind choosing targets between Chen's and Peter. He ultimately just looks at Haroon, grimaces, and takes his eye patch and swaps it from the one eye to the other. That way he can see better in the dark. And he draws back an arrow in his bow, aiming for Peter.
Oh, man.
Which one would you like me to take?
The one that tries to kill you.
I suppose the nearest one will do.
I like that.
And Haroon slips a small throwing knife out of a crease in his clothing and readies to strike at the same time.
Okay. We're in combat. Give me 2 seconds here to get the necessary thingamabob. Okay, you're at medium range currently. You go first as the PCs. I will not use any Doom currently. You have 3 momentum pull. Just so you know, let's just talk real quick. Your tokens should have all your weapons. Now, I guess it's okay that you had your bow at the campfire. That's fine. But I don't know that you would have your battle axe, your barbed spear, all that stuff. Kagan, right?
He'd always have his bow, arrow, and dagger minimum.
Okay, that's fine. And Haroon, you're a little different situation, so.
Yeah, he's literally.
Yeah, he's a walking dagger. So
basically.
Yeah, all your macros should have most of your talents included where necessary. So if we find something that is not right, let me know. If you click on status on your token, such as that, that will show the most important thing. Well, there are a couple of vigor, your current vigor, your momentum and doom totals. Okay, so keep that in mind. So it is relatively dark. So we are going to say difficulty is set at 2 for ranged attacks.
Okay, I would like to spend 1 momentum for an immediate advantage. Basically,
Okay.
I've managed to position myself behind the donkeys or whatever, and when I go to raise up and fire, it's like a correct shot, the perfect timing of flickering torchlight and whatever. So spend an immediate 1 to gain a die 20 on the attack.
Yeah, you can do that. Just to the donkeys and stuff are behind them in this pin. I know you can't quite see it, but it's behind Chins. But that's fine. You can definitely pay for a momentum to do that.
Whatever,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. That's all good. I've subtracted your momentum.
It will be a bow attack on Peter. You said difficulty 2 because of darkness.
Correct.
He has, what is it called? Shoot for the horizon, which reduces the difficulty.
So let's. So if you click on your token and then click on, if you click combat talents, it'll give all your combat talents. So
My font just went really, really tiny. The whole screen just went really, really tiny.
Fire at range other than you reduce the penalty for firing at range other than the weapon's optimal range by 1 step to a minimum of 0. So it's a range thing.
Yep.
Not darkness. Now you can spend a minor action before attacking. So you would gain an additional additional momentum. And you may re-roll damage dice for accurate, right? So
I had to exit out for some reason.
Okay.
The Google Chrome, the font of it,
Okay.
it magnified real little.
okay, no, you're all good.
Just don't let it happen again.
It's still little. Where's the zoom feature on this? Do y'all know anything about Google
Shift. Can you shift wheel? That should do it, I think.
Yeah, otherwise there should be a little zoom button next to the bookmark thing in the search bar.
Mm-hmm. That's true too. That might actually be easier. It's right next to your star.
Yeah, there should be an option when you click it to reset.
Yeah. Once the screen loads up.
I don't suppose we'd have had enough time for me to make a exploit roll to get set up before we actually start.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. So that would be observation. Boop. Cool. So I meet the 1 with a complication.
Now, where is that exploit at? Is that out of a talent, or is that out of a...
That's just, let me see, exploit standard actions. So yeah, he would have done that while we were getting ready. Just observe a foe to discover weakness, which you can immediately exploit.
Okay.
I have accurate and 3 ranged feats, so I will re-roll those 2 minus signs on damage dice.
Can you do make it there? Number of damage to... Yep, okay. Okay, cool. So wow. 7 damage. So effect. You have volley if you want to use it, right? But I don't think you want to empty your load out, right?
I don't know how many. Yeah, I don't know how many loads I have.
3. You have 3 loads to begin with. But yeah, so you meet with 2. Damage 7. You shot at Peter, correct?
Yeah, it'd just be the 7 damage.
Mm-hmm. So
Chested him.
So he takes a harm. 1 second on me. Yeah, so you raise up and shoot this guy directly in the chest, and he staggers back slightly and just like is coughing blood. Okay. Aaron?
Yeah. Haroon takes a stance very relaxedly, and he's going to loose a throwing knife.
Okay.
And so, because he did exploit, he has 2 piercing on it as well. And I believe because of the range, since throwing knives, I believe, are close, so it'll be difficulty 3 instead of 2, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. Alrighty.
Who are you throwing it at?
Well, seeing as Piter's still up, and he's got a bad feeling, he's tempted to go for him. But let's go for Dirk.
Okay.
Because he's the next closest, and he looks guard armed, right?
Yes, he is more heavily armed than Peter for sure, and he has a helmet and all that stuff.
Yep. How much momentum do we have?
If you click on your token and click status, it will tell you.
There.
That should be accurate.
Nice. Yeah. So I will roll, and then boop boop boop. Where is it? Throwing knife. There we go. Let's see if I can slap him one. So there's 2.
That is a miss.
Let me see. Oh yeah, I forget the increase. There's
That's
only
before.
afterwards. Yeah, or I mean before, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So your dagger goes flying and misses.
You know what I will do actually is
Okay.
with the 2 momentum.
You do?
So I think I will use that on another action. It's 2, right? Yeah.
For another action, I think it's fortune, right? To get another standard action.
Let me see.
I don't think
Swift
you can-
action.
I don't-
Yeah, 2. Character gains an additional standard action, increasing difficulty by 1 step. Oh yeah, I forgot about the 1 step difficulty increase. Yeah, he's good for now then.
Okay. All right. So for my actions, each let's see. So they're basically turned around pretty surprised, all 3 of them. So Chins looks and sees what's going on, Kagan there, and he's just like can't believe it, and I guess think about this. Ew. So draws and moves. Minor draw sacrifices a standard for a minor to move. What are you doing, Kagan? What is this insanity, old man?
Do you all want to speak of insanity, Chins? Gather your senses about you and throw down your weapons.
And Dirk draws his weapon and moves into medium range. And Hyder actually does moves back where you can't see him. And it would be your turn.
I guess I should have technically, because of marksman, I should have rolled 4 dice.
Or marksman. Let me see. No. Marksman, you perform a range attack with precision. You may spend a minor action before attempting a range attack, putting a little more effort into the shot attack. When you do this, you gain 1 additional momentum for the attack.
Yeah, the momentum can be spent, correct?
After you gain it.
Okay.
But, I mean...
Yeah. I spent 1 immediately from the existing pool to gain the benefit, the opportunity.
Yeah.
And this one just got banked then. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, you guys are up. And this is making a lot of noise, obviously. It's not.
Yeah. Does Kagan act?
They're not in melee, correct?
They are technically not. They're not engaged.
Yeah. They've closed, but they're not quite. Yeah.
And between the 2, which one's more heavily armored?
Dirk.
In order to move, let me look at the actions real quick.
Move is a minor action. Moving within a range band is free. I believe that's correct.
Believe so.
Yeah. Back up to the corner a little bit. Not really movement per se out of the square.
Yeah, it's free.
But spend my minor action for marksman to get a good bead. I will spend the momentum I gained last round for marksman to gain an extra die this time.
You can do that.
And what's the difficulty if it's in the same range? Is it still 2 or is it
1?
1?
It's 1 here.
1, or reduced down to 0 technically because
Zero is on. So shoot for the horizon is only for range penalties.
Yeah, the one difficulty is just for darkness then.
One difficulty is just for combat. It's always one difficulty, right? It's always when you attack. It's always difficulty of 1, right? So you're always going against the 1.
I believe it's currently 2 difficulty right now because of the darkness. Yeah.
Well, there is no darkness within the same square.
Yeah, now that they've closed it. Gone,
yep.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay, for a range other than the weapon's optimal range, never mind.
Yeah, if you're shooting too far or too close, right?
Yeah. It's made for a Hail Mary overshot. Yeah, okay. Spend the 1 gain from last round to add an additional die.
Okay.
And I will fire it into Dirk.
Okay, so you should be rolling 3. Okay, so you gain 2 momentum for marksman.
I am going to re-roll the 2 minus dice was accurate.
Okay, you can do that. All right, so 1 more damage. So that's a total of 6.
I generated 2 momentum, correct?
Yes, I added that and then subtracted 1 for... actually, I didn't subtract 1. Yep, I added 2. Because you used 1, added 2. So, yeah, 3. Let's see.
Yeah, so 1 gets added from the marksman, but I want to spend the 2 that was generated from there to add bonus damage. What does cost 1R mean?
That means you can keep doing it.
Repeatable, yeah.
Oh,
yep, so you can add 2.
I'll add the 2. Yeah, I'll add the 2 gain to it for bonus damage.
Okay. So we are down to 1 momentum. And you did... How much damage did you do? You did 1 plus 5 plus 2. Yep. 8. Where did you hit him? I think his armor's everywhere, but right leg. Okay. So 8, 6. He takes 6 damage. Let me see something here. So, okay. So he takes a harm. So you shoot him in the leg and he staggers like, what the crazy old fool. Haroon, what do you do?
And as Melik is making his way through the encampment, he hears yelling and the familiar sounds of combat and starts making his way towards that direction.
Why don't you roll a observation roll to see if you do hear it in time? You're pretty far away.
Melik hears the sounds of combat.
Maybe.
Let me see.
I hear something.
It's nighttime. Sound carries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just seeing if you're hearing it in time. Yeah, you would hear it in time. You can go on their next turn after this one. So after they go, and you can start basically where you are.
Yep. So Haroon, they both seem like ready to attack us back. Yeah.
I mean, they've charged you with weapons drawn. Yes.
Yeah, it's combat. All right. Yeah. Yeah. So Haroon is going to minor action pull out a very nice bronze dagger, and he's going to go for Dirk to attempt to land that second blow to finish him off. So let's see this.
You're throwing it?
No, he's going in melee.
Okay.
So 2 successes and a complication. So that's 1 momentum, yes?
Yes.
Added. Okay. Now, sadly, my effects don't currently do anything, because I didn't exploit first, but...
Okay, so I'll add Doom for the complication.
Okay. Yep.
So Chin's is just... moves in on Haroon.
Oh, does Dirk go down with that blow to the head with the dagger?
Oh, that was 7 damage. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I totally missed that. So he does. So, yeah, it's going to give him 2 harms. So basically, the arrow or the knife goes straight in his eye,
Yep.
and he just like crumples to the ground, very dead.
Yeah,
Just use that.
Haroon. I imagine he was already staggered back a bit from the arrow, and so Haroon kind of uses that with a backhanded grip and brings the dagger up into the eye, kind of up through the skull a bit, before pulling it out and readying to face Shins.
Yeah, Chinch just basically charges you. He's going to use... Go ahead.
So as soon as Dirk falls, Kagan will go, surrender your weapons now, Chins, and reclaim your honor. Show some dignity, man.
Yeah, he's just pissed. He has a scimitar at his side, and he's going to swing that. He's going to use 2 Doom to grab 2 extra dice.
I would like to attempt a parry.
Okay.
See how well it goes.
You better hope pretty good.
Yeah, better hope it goes good. I think I as well. How many do we have?
You have...
Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot I have the button.
Yep.
Yes, I'm going to do both of those as well. So I'm going to roll 4.
Okay.
Oh, darn.
What's your reach?
Oh, no, it ties, yeah.
What's your reach, though, with the dagger? 1, right?
Ah, yeah, true.
So he hit for 1 success. That's what I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah, I forget about the closing stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Because that modifies difficulty, right? Yeah.
Yeah. If your reach is under his, then it's basically 1 more difficulty for you, right?
I believe so. On attacking, at least, I don't know about defending. I'd presume.
Well, I mean, it's the same, right? Because you basically, it's a struggle, and each struggle has a target.
Exactly. Yeah.
So okay, so he hit you. So he's going to spend some momentum to do damage, or Doom to do damage. I'm gonna spend 2 Doom to do 2 dice worth of damage, or is it just 2? It's just 2 damage, right? Yeah.
Yeah. For the momentum to damage, yeah, it's just.
Yeah. So he does 6 damage to your right arm. What's your soak?
Soak of 1. Let me see.
Okay.
Are we doing the optional breaking armor pieces?
Yes,
to...
you can break armor to not take a harm.
Yeah, so I think I'll break the right arm armor.
Okay. And you still take damage, right? So
I think it just reduces it. Yeah.
It just makes you not take a wound. That's how I understand it.
Oh, that's how it works. Okay. Yeah, because that would have been a wound. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did 6, and then you soaked 1, took 5, but no wounds, so you take 5. So let's what I'll do just to make it easy. Look at your status. You have 10 total vigor, so I'll put 10 in your red bubble, and then I'll put what he did in your green bubble.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering because the way they have the dots for stress and all that.
Yeah, I don't use those anyway. The stuff that I use is not. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So that is their turn. I'm going to use some Doom now to call in reinforcements. Bring in some minions.
a lot of people gonna rape her.
Well, these aren't necessarily that. They're just people hearing a bunch of fighting. Actually, what is it to bring in a non... Bear with me, guys.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Conan reinforcements? I can't find that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to spend 4 total doom.
Ooh, nice.
This is going to bring in 2 toughened guys coming in from this way. And you see Hanny and his guard, which he is definitely... These guys are both Hanwell guys. And Hanny's like, "Uncle, what is this? What is the meaning of this?" And they can't act this turn, so it's up to you guys. You don't know what happened to Peter. Not sure where he's got off to. DC's turn, and Melech, you are right where you are, so you can act there. Here, so you can see Ghost, but... Alright. DCs are up. Does that make sense? What happened?
Yeah. Unless someone else is going to go, I presume Kagan. This is like Kagan's dude, basically. If he wants to go.
Yeah, this is Hanny is technically Kagan's nephew.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the rules for called shots.
Oh, it's it's 2 momentum, and you choose the specific hit location. I don't know if there's any other bonuses for hitting it.
Yeah,
Where the
yeah, you
sections
just...
for called shots might be.
It's in the table on page... Oh, shit. I'm sorry. Looks 423 in the PDF. Called shot, cost 2. The character can choose the hit location struck by the physical attack. So I don't know necessarily.
I think it's just specifically hitting a certain spot. If
Yeah.
you know they lack armor, like if they don't have a helmet, it's very, very good if they're in like full plate but no helmet.
Yeah. What are you specifically trying to do? And I can...
What's his primary weapon arm?
Chin's his right arm.
Right arm?
Mm-hmm.
And if I roll and generate momentum, can I spend that momentum generated to hit a location?
Yes. If it's as long as it's immediate, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will spend 1 momentum to gain an extra die, and upon hearing Hanny's voice, I will backstride around and I will draw my bow down, trying to shoot for his weapon arm. So
Okay.
I will use the one for the extra attack, and then if I generate more, I'll hopefully spend it on the location.
So let's do this. Instead of a location, why don't you try to disarm with a bow? And I'll let you do that for 3 total momentum if you can generate it. So,
Nice.
Okay, I'm still spending one of my existing ones for an immediate die bonus.
okay. So you'll have 1 in the pool.
Oh,
That's
nice.
a good roll. That's a very good roll. All right, so that one for the shot. So 2 focus. So that's immediately 3 right there, plus marksman. So you just generated 4 momentum. You can spend 3 of that momentum to disarm him.
Yeah, I will spend 3 to knock the weapon out of his hand.
Okay. So you're at 1 momentum now total. So basically, how does that look?
As he hears Hanny's voice, he hasn't quite acknowledged seeing him, but he knows that his Lord's son's voice is there. He also knows that Chen's is part of their group. So in his mind, instead of killing him outright, he decides to knock it down. And he shoots and knocks the blade out of his hands, and he goes, "This is the last time I do you. Surrender now. Claim what honor and dignity you have left."
Yeah, the arrow just goes right through his
And
hand.
he just fires the arrow and knocks the blade out of his hand.
Yeah, it goes right through the back of his palm or back of his hand and pops the pommel of the scimitar out of his hand, and he just like and he's like grabbing his wrist with his other hand and falls to his knees. And at this point, everybody can hear it and everybody can run down here if they wish.
Yep.
Yeah,
Harun is kind of, his right arm is back a bit now, and he's got the dagger in his left hand at the ready just in case.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and so everybody starts converging on this scene. And Hanny runs over to Kagan. "What is the meaning of this? What is going on?" And Chins is on his knees.
He'll spin, but he still has his bow drawn. Basically, like his peripheral, checking out Chen's for any movement.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "I am merely protecting our clan and our honorable name." Says, "Where's Peter, that worthless dog?"
And he just kind of Chins doesn't know. He's like screaming because he's got an arrow through his hand.
He'll look towards, I guess, Melik, since he's close. Go find that dog and bring him back alive.
I knew something should have been done about him. And Melik looks down at Chins and kind of sneers at him. "Which way did he go?"
He looks at you just completely lost. He has no idea.
Harun points off, "I believe past the animals."
Very well. So he has his bastard sword out and he heads off in the direction that he was pointed in.
Harun calls out, "Be ready. He will be waiting for you."
Okay, you can go up there, Doc. It's pretty dark in there. Yeah, you walk in there and you just hear the donkeys and the camels. You don't see anything, but it's extremely dark back there. You can't see anything.
Okay, so I kind of just search the area as best I can.
No. You search back there and there is no sign of Peter. Just to give you a quick conclusion to that.
Okay.
I am subtracting momentum for the end of the scene, by the way. Or 0 momentum. I wasn't subtracting momentum for each turn, which I should have been, so keep that in mind for next time.
So I make my way back to the group. The vile creature has gotten away. We shall look for him again in the morning.
Kagan hisses and spits upon the ground, and then I don't know if Varys is coming or no. Varys is on guard duty.
Yeah, Varys could come down. He's heard.
If I would have heard it, then
yeah, by this time you can come down.
Would have jumped, grabbed for the palm of my sword, then Arminius, stay here. Raise an alarm if there's any trouble. I'll return shortly.
Of course, my captain.
I would head down, see all this fucking skullduggery and nonsense going on here. Would I have known Dirk at all, or is just another guard?
Just another guard, pretty much. Yeah.
I would have known he was a guard, though.
Yeah. Hanny has a torch in his hand, and he's just like, "What is the meaning of the... You save our clan from what? I just saw you kill a man, at least you," when he points to Harim.
Well, it was in self-defense. He came for me. You see my arm?
Yeah, Kagan, depending on when you all return back, you'll hear, I guess, whatever portion of the conversation, but he'll just turn to Hanny, and he goes, "That these worthless cur Peter. He tried to solicit our services into the act of rape upon the Nubian woman, or Puntan woman, or whatever you want to call her."
Yeah.
So they go, "And I would not have any privy to it, but I see that his words have seduced the ear of Chins, one of our own." He looks down at him and spits. Says, "I would not have one of our clan be sullied in such an atrocious act, especially with the givings of your own mother, my sister." And his face gets really dark.
Yeah. And Shins is, "It's not true. I told him that I believe that you would be a great leader one day, and he and he's like,
backhands him. He's heard a lie. He just backhands him.
And Hanny's like, Stop! Let him speak at the very least." And Shin says,
only if his words are true.
And he's like, "Tengwar, I don't want you to have to relieve my uncle from this place, but if he hits him again," and this guy walks in. You know this guy. He is legit 7 feet tall, just a humongous dude. He's like, "Kerrigan, do not strike." And Hanny then says, "Go on, Chins." And Chin's like basically tries to crawl a little bit away from Kagan as he's getting bitch slapped around. And, "I was just preaching your name, Hanny, saying that you would make a fine leader over Henwell, and that Henwell did not treat us well on the crossing. I apologize for speaking bad for your father, but you will be a greater leader than he." Alright, so we're going to do a struggle. This is going to be a persuade. Whoever has the most successes versus Hanny, he will believe.
Yeah, if I've heard this, and I was
you have. Go ahead.
To the campfire conversation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak up.
So I would say what I'm saying, and then do persuade, or roll persuade, and then go.
Did you say something? What did you say? I didn't hear.
Oh, I was just asking what order should I do it in.
Oh yeah, go ahead and do the role play first.
Yep. So I'd come in and hear what he's saying. I mean, that's bullshit. Obviously, I know that. That's not true. Not even the slight of it. I'm coming up. This man, I will admit, did not say much, but he went along with Petra's scams. What he was saying. Petra was saying, speaking of rape, he did not speak of anything about you. He spoke of his own selfish desires. I swear this was my honor as a former soldier. As a continued captain of men, this man lies before you.
And so, go ahead. Whoever wants to can roll to persuade, and then everybody engaged in the conversation, which is all of you will say, can give a bonus die for an assist. Right?
Is there any
So-
chance, seeing as they're all quite distracted, that Harun could slip into the shadows?
Yeah. Roll. You can roll stealth to see,
Cool.
but yeah.
Yeah, he slips backwards.
Okay.
As well as the one
Yeah,
momentum.
yeah. They're not paying attention to Haroon at this point.
Yeah, he
I'll
slips
go persuade. I
back
guess.
a little bit.
Okay, so
So Melech, he steps forward,
Mhm.
and after Varus is done talking to Hanny, and addresses Hanny, Sir, Varus here speaks the truth. This man over here, he conspired with that Peter. He conspired to take advantage of someone under the protection of this caravan, under your protection. He conspired to make you look weak by allowing someone under your protection to be hurt. That's what he did. He did not speak of your glories. He did not speak of your ability to lead. He attempted to make your ability to lead look vile and wrong. That is all he accomplished.
he looks at you and seems to be pondering everyone's words, right? So go ahead and all right. So Varus, go ahead and roll your persuade and give yourself 2 bonus die for Melich and Kagan. I think you have the best persuade. That's why.
I do.
Yeah.
So it's 4 dice.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Kurt.
Yeah,
Oh, I was just
Kagan's words aren't so honeyed. It's straightforward to the truth. He's just like, my mere presence alone is that I have not shown nothing but duty and honor to the clan. So I'm not here to stroke your cock with praise. We have women for that. So I am here to uphold the honor of the clan. And I tell you now, this one here, he was in cahoots to violate a woman under our protection. I will have no part in such things.
All right.
I was just going to ask if I could do an exploit on Tengwar in preparation, just in case.
Sure you could.
Bold.
Just in case.
So 4 dice, okay.
In case of
Mhm.
emergency. Oh, no, yeah.
I'll just get 3
It's
successes.
too dark. He went too
I'll take that Doom though. I'll take that
That's fine.
Doom
Yeah.
from Chris roll. Yeah, 3 is good. And I'll roll for him. So give me a second here. His persuade. I don't think it's gonna get it done. I'm gonna use 2 Doom.
Bold. No.
So Haney shakes his head and unbelievable. And he's like, Varus, have your men put Chins in chains. My father will decide what to do with him.
As you command. And I would put him in chains myself. Pick him up, drag him off.
And he's like, just put him in with the animals and put a guard on him.
I will do this.
Kagan doesn't smile, but he looks greatly relieved, and he'll actually say, you've done the right thing, honey. He says, you've done the right thing. He says, for what it is worth, that worthless dog, Pieter, that seems to be the one behind everything, he is somewhere loose in this camp with one of my arrows stuck in his chest.
He grimaces and looks at Varus and he's like, have your men on alert.
It's already done. We'll find him.
And Melech just kind of lowers his head and lets out a sigh, and he sheathes his sword.
Mm-hmm. And then Haney's like, we might as well go tell my father of this now. You 3. And he doesn't, he's like, where? He says, you 4. And then he looks and then he realizes someone's gone that he had seen before. And he's like, wherever that one went, you collect yourselves. Come to my father's tent in an hour. I'll go speak to him beforehand.
I would nod, and after taking chins and putting them in chains with donkeys, and probably next to a nice big pile of donkey shit, I would go back and speak with Arminius and tell him I'll have to go to a meeting and get somebody else to take my place until I can be finished with it.
Yep.
Kagan will respect Hanny's words and snap to attention and pound on his chest with his palm or his fist.
Yep. And Hanny turns and strides off, and leaving the giant he stands there for a few more moments, and he's just like, more trouble. I don't like trouble. And he's like, I'll give you the opportunity to execute Chins if it is so deemed by our master. And then what you know is Tinwar is basically usually the executioner of your clan. So he's giving you an honor, basically.
I'm assuming
He's
that
talking to
was
Kagan. Yeah, it was definitely
Yeah.
Kagan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it means. You back, Ian?
Yoo-hoo. Give me a second. Why don't you guys take 5?
Sure. Okay, cool. Just I'm going to pause the recording.
Nah, that's okay.
I'll let it go. I'll be back.
Right. Yep. Ditto.
That was fun. The computer just muted the speakers altogether.
No, that's weird. Did you hear what I had said?
No.
Okay, well, I'll repeat it when I just told everybody to take 5. Take a piss. I'll repeat it when I get back. Did not plan for this. Had no idea you guys would attack them. That's the way this campaign will be. You guys do what you want.
In Kagan's mind, his mom could have very well been the same situation as what Peter was about to do. So yeah, he's not going to tolerate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Yeah, you guys do exactly what you guys want to do, and I get to react.
And yeah, I hated the fact that the party was split, but at the same time, it's like they're right there. Let's not lollygagging around and watch them form a chain gang of 7 dudes about to line up.
Yeah, if you guys would have went off and talked to the other one, they would have been gone, right? They would have stayed there.
I'm back.
Yep.
So did Kagan accept his honor? Did I miss that?
I'm gonna he missed the what I said, so I'm gonna repeat it when Ghost gets back. Well, he heard it, so I'll just go ahead. So Tingwar basically comes to Kagan and says, his dishonor would be great if this is true. And Tingwar, you know, is essentially your clan's executioner for the most part. And he says, if it comes to his head, you may have the honor to swing the stroke that relieves his head from his neck.
And having been in battles before, Kagan just looks at him, nods solemnly, and he goes, if our Lord had well wishes it to be, it shall be done.
He nods and turns around without another word and also departs. Alright, once Ghost gets back, we can get underway.
Cool.
I'm gonna bunch you guys for easy movement.
Yeah, this is a good chance to ask as well, because I was thinking about Living Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's whenever I attempting to remain unseen or unnoticed, I gain bonus momentum equal to ranks, which is 1.
Yep.
I presume that's for the purpose of adding a die, potentially.
Let me... Okay.
Because it just says when you attempt to, you gain a momentum.
Alright, you are adept at using
sounds like
terrain.
it'd be...
Living Shadow? You're talking about
Yeah.
Living Shadow? When
Yeah.
attempting to remain unseen or unnoticed, you gain bonus momentum to your ranks in this talent. I would say it's anytime you try to sneak around, really.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I figure I can use it on the roll itself for the extra die. Yeah.
Yeah. What I probably wouldn't on the roll itself, like you're saying.
Yeah, so it's like I'm attempting to remain hidden, so I gain a momentum, and then I use that on the roll to remain hidden. Yeah. Because it seems like otherwise it would be a bit odd if I do that and then I fail and then I get a momentum.
Oh yeah, well you have to generate a momentum first, right? So you have to generate a momentum.
Yeah, good point, because it's bonus momentum.
Yeah, so it's if you so the way I see it is if you succeed, you generate momentum. You get an extra momentum to do whatever momentum spins you're going to do or bank it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So would that include the roll itself, or?
Well, what do you mean by that exactly?
So I mean, like, okay, I'm gonna sneak up to Varys.
Okay.
I'm gonna roll the stealth. I'm attempting to be sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
The way I was interpreting it was you gain bonus momentum, for attempting to be sneaky, and then I use that bonus momentum.
No, you have to generate momentum first.
Okay.
So the only way you generate momentum is by rolling. So therefore, you have to roll first, and then after you. So you couldn't use it to increase your stealth roll, for instance.
Okay.
You could only use it after you rolled. That's the way I
that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're back, Ghost.
Yep.
Okay. So you guys got any role play before you? Yeah. Why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves? Because Haroon kind of disappeared anyway. So what are you guys doing as you wait to go to this dude's tent?
So we're all kind of gathered up now. We've done our respective.
If you want to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I would probably just make all the preparations I need to, and that being assigning a guard to Chins, assigning a guard to take my spot while I'm in this powwow, and then just double checking and everything, make sure that nothing's happened in my absence with Arminius. And then
Okay.
If and whenever Haroon returns, Kagan will side saddle up to him, place a hand on his shoulder. You did well this evening.
Is Haroon back?
Oh yeah, sorry.
You good?
Yeah, I forgot because he was off in the distance. But yeah, he would have kept an eye for a minute, but then eventually like moved back up in to everybody. But yeah, well, it is kind of you to say so.
I would come back, and after making more preparations, and go ahead, display horse lord, talking to Keegan.
I only did what anyone in my station would do.
Suppose that's well enough, but we did lose the main perpetrator. It's a shame.
He shall be found soon enough.
I put out word to my men, told them to keep an eye out. I suspect he'll be hiding for the night.
He has one of my arrows in his lungs. He would not run far.
True, but it is best to keep an eye out. He is of the type that may strike you on the
Slippery.
Indeed.
Slippery devil.
A cornered and wounded snake is still a dangerous snake.
Exactly. especially if you do not see the snake coming.
I'm not so afraid of Petra as I am of what other help he might have. That man is one of the guards, not one of mine, but that means he's got additional help.
Perhaps.
Jins, the guard, who else is under his web?
I suppose, although it sounded from what we heard that it may be the guard that had the idea in the first place. You never know, though.
What made you think that?
He was chiding the others for coming to us. I must admit, it was rather brazen for him to come to us so openly. I would have expected him to come to us individually rather than as a group.
So we should expect treachery from within, even our own guardsmen.
Perhaps. Or perhaps Peter is the last of his kith.
Be suspicious of anyone looking for this Dark. If he was their leader, they are now leaderless and would not know what to do.
But to remove the head of a snake and it still rise, does it not?
With the display this night, I do not think any itch in a man's crotch would be strong enough to possess them to try things further.
I suppose you are right.
It might not just be a rape, though.
Indeed.
Seems to be an awful lot of trouble to go through for a rape.
Rape, ransom, it's all the same.
Do any of you know Dirk?
Would we have reasonably had a good idea of him?
Yeah, not really. I mean, he was pretty straight-laced, seemed to you, but you're all pretty new. I mean, everybody's new to him, right?
Kagan will look at Varys and he'll go, he was Aquilonian, wasn't he?
Not one of mine. Can't speak for him. I brought my men. Low to a fault, those lads. I see a point.
There were many set of swords left after the battle. Many of them have fled, but there are some that stayed. They stayed and took up positions as guards, as sellswords. He could be one of the remaining ones.
Perhaps. I think that we haven't heard the last of this mischief, though. Perhaps we should ask around, see who Dirk might have palled around with. We may find more heads to this conspiracy.
Our intentions are well enough, but I say that we wait for Lord Henwell to deem his verdict, then go from there. Advising is needed.
Indeed. Be patient, my friend. If nothing else, he may actually send us on a hunt.
We'll see.
I know this city. He will not get far.
I must say, though, one way or another, the activity has aroused me much more so than it has been in a while. It was rather boring around here, was it not?
Boring is exactly the way I like it.
To each his own. I cannot help but feel the flow of blood within battle. It is a fine thing.
Battle, yes, but not this sort of skullduggery.
I suppose. It has been quite some time since I have seen a proper fight.
I need to go make arrangements before we meet the master of the caravan.
Very well.
And Melech wanders off.
Okay. Alright, sounds like you guys are done. So.
I think so.
So the tent flaps are already open. The lights are on inside, even though it's in the middle of the night. Kagan, as you approach, you see Hanny and Hanwell kind of towards the front of the flap speaking. And you also see images of other people inside the tent.
Those are his concubines, ain't they?
They are his current concubines, yes.
I don't see anything.
Do you not? You're just in a spot where you can't see.
You gotta
You'll
go
move-
in, man.
Yeah, you guys can go inside
Okay.
the tent.
Yeah.
Don't step on
Kagan
the
will
road.
walk in. He'll half-heartedly nod at the concubines, and Caden's one of the kids from his favorite concubine, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Kulan.
Yeah, he'll definitely judge the mood of things by when he goes to Hanwell. He'll walk up to him and he'll go, "Greetings, brother."
Hanwell looks fairly like distressed, but he nods. Brother, welcome to my tent. Come inside. And he waves you all in. And there's various. As you come in, you notice Hanny and Hanwell, obviously. And Hanwell, only Kagan has spoken to him directly. There are two women. One is pretty young and does not appear like Kagan, Hanwell, Hanny, or Kulan, or Kadan. She is from somewhere in the west. You're not sure where, but she has pale skin, brown hair. She's kind of laying on that rug over there with a blanket over her. She's kind of like propped up on an elbow, kind of watching idly. Kulan, which you guys know to be another concubine of Hanwell, is kind of sitting over at that table. And Kaden, a young boy of 12 maybe, is basically only wearing a loincloth, and he like walks up and he's like, "I heard there was traitors, uncle. Traitors."
Kagan will turn and look at him, and despite his best interests, he'll ruffle the kids' heads and then kind of push him away in a playful pretend jest. And he goes, "They were bad men, yes, but Uncle Kagan, he took care of them."
Yeah, and Caden's always been fond of you, even though you're not technically his uncle. He calls you his uncle and treats you with a lot of respect and seems to like you a lot. He's like nods and he's like, "I heard you killed one of the bad men, or one of you did," and he like looks around and he doesn't know who that would have been, but I want to speak to him.
Pulled up one of the chairs and he's sitting in it backwards, resting on the back.
Mm-hmm. He kind of gives up on finding who that is because no one's. And he looks, and Hanwell's like, "All right, boy, calm down, calm down. You're here to listen and learn, not speak." And he looks back to Kagan. "Well, tell me what happened."
Kagan hangs his head a little heavy, and he's like, "I wish our visit was upon more pleasant circumstances." He says, "This evening we were approached by Peter of Solomon's tribe." He says he was trying to indoctrinate us into an attempt to violate the woman, the Puntan woman. What was her name?
Lumusi.
Yeah, Lumusi. Says I myself would have no partake of it, but it seemed that his honeyed words had found their way to Chin's ear, for he quickly departed with him. Curious, I decided to take to the shadows and hunt this couple down. Turns out they were meeting with another man who was in charge. That would be the dead one they called Dirk. I did not wish anyone from our tribe to dishonor the name, so I decided to put an end to it, using this vow of Peter as an example of what would come to those who would besearch the Hanwell name.
And Hanwell nods. And our tribesman, Chin's, what was his involvement? He was a part of these men, I take it?
It would sadly seem so, yes. He was accompanying Peter with him to go and meet with his Dirk.
He just, like goes to spit, but realizes he's inside his own house and doesn't. Tyrannian scum. And he takes a deep breath and says, what should we do about this Peter?
I wounded the man, an arrow to the chest. His lung, I do believe. It would be most advisable to probably find him. Perhaps we could seek our own mendicant's tents, or whatever the hell they call them. Mendicant, surgeon.
Yeah, barber, something like that.
Barber surgeon.
And well, yes, you can look through the caravan if you can find him, but I'm sure he's not stayed here. He just strokes his beard, and you can tell he's thinking about something else that's kind of bothering him.
You seem troubled, brother.
I do not wish to upset Solomon and his tribe by chasing down one of his own. This Puntan is his affair, not ours. And he considers, brother, tonight rest. Search the camp if you can find this Peter. But if not, I shall go to Solomon in the morn and speak to him on this matter. One of his men is dead, and one of ours are in chains, and another of his is missing.
I shall do as you say, my lord. Says, and if you need me to accompany you, by all means, I will give my testimony freely.
And Varus would step forward. I would also seek to be a part of that meeting, as I was with, and I'm with Solomon, right? I was with him initially.
Yeah.
I'm a guard captain under Solomon. I believe my testimony may have some weight as well.
He nods. Very well. I shall speak to him, and if I need your counsel or your testimony, I should ask you to accompany me. And he looks over all you and says, for now, get some rest. It is late. And he, takes a very deep, troubled breath.
I would nod and depart.
Harun leans back and he yawns and stretches before then walking on out.
And Melech would go ahead and give a slight bow as he walks out.
Okay.
Kagan will embrace Caden a little bit. Not really a hug, but more like a hand on the shoulder, hand on the back of the head, and pat him on the head. And when it looks like he doesn't want to see me leave or whatever, he'll just go with your mother. And then he'll look and give Hanny a smile, a strange smile of respect. And then he'll look finally as he's leaving to the two ladies. He'll just nod and ladies walk out.
Yeah. All right. So you guys all, the way you guys have come to know each other is you're all put in the same tent. Basically, you all live in the same tent. So, go back to your tent. Bear with me 2 seconds.
Kagan would like to put one falcon at the front of the tent, one falcon at the back of the tent. And he will actually load his sleeping pallet with a bundle of stuff, and he will sleep outside, perched in the shadows.
Varus will write in his journal a bit, as he's keeping sort of a biography, which he may pass on to one of his sons, should he survive. Sort of a perspective on life sort of thing. So he's writing a biography about the night's events, giving this sort of pointed advice while also looking over what creates this sort of situation, and maybe a commentary on the tempestuousness of man. One moment we can be brought to virtue, the other moment brought to vice, brought low. So he's writing commentaries, and then eventually retire for a 4-hour nap before getting back to guard duty.
Okay.
And Melek will go ahead and pull a wooden bowl out of, a satchel that he has, and he pours some water in it. And he kind of dips his hands in the water and brings it up to his face, and does that several times as he kind of mumbles something under his breath that the others don't quite understand. And the water kind of just drips off of his fingers. He's not really splashing his face. The water just kind of drips off of his fingers as he brings the water up to his face and just barely touches his face. And he puts that away, and then he kind of gets into his bed and sits cross-legged on the bed with his head down and continues his prayers.
Yep, Harun, in his own little nook that he's formed, cleans his dagger, and the throwing knife he got back, sharpens it, oils it, makes sure everything is fine, and he ends up cutting off the sleeve of the ruined sleeve that saved his arm. And he says, I think I quite like it like this, honestly. It adds flair to it.
Flair doesn't stop a blade, young man.
That it does not. I will have to find something better then, will I not? Perhaps I would do well with a shield.
You should probably have that looked at tomorrow, unless you'd like to go find the surgeon tonight. Doesn't look very good.
Oh, it is fine. It is already sealed up, and it is, I've tended to it enough. It will be fine.
Yeah, any vigor loss, so you guys just know. Vigor loss does not, once he heals, he'll be fine, or once he rests, he'll be fine for vigor. It's only hard. Yeah, it's only wounds and
yeah, it only requires like a brief. What is it?
Yeah.
I think a brief rest after the action scene.
Yeah. It's just you can't like if you're like back to back, it wouldn't heal, but
Exactly.
Yeah, so just make sure you remove your soak from that arm.
Yeah, I noted it as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so you guys eventually find slumber for a little while at least. And give me 2 seconds to. Oh yeah. All right, so it's the next day. You find, besides Varus is probably already out of the tent by this time.
Might still be a little dark out.
Yeah. You are greeted by. You see, just kind of standing outside your tent is Tingwar. Kurgan, are you awake? And you're actually outside the tent, right? Is what you said, Wolf, right?
Yeah.
So he more stands up, wherever you are.
Yeah, he'd be like perched on a barrel somewhere where the shadows looking at the tent would be, and he'd be like 2 hands on his spear, resting his forehead against it asleep, and about 4 arrows in the dirt, and his bow by his side. So he'll like to just open his one eye that isn't patched, and he'll go, I am awake.
Gather these, your tent mates, and bring them to the fire. Hanwell has decreed Shin's life is forfeit.
As you wish.
And I will be there And he doesn't wait, he just walks off.
Kagan will walk in and see that nobody's been molested and his body hasn't been molested. He'll kick Varys's bunk or pallet or whatever, and he says, "Come, rise with the sun. We have work to do."
Am I even in there?
No, the Varys would already be out, but you could kick it over.
Yeah.
Oh, Melik, there we go.
Hudern is relaxing. His little nook is basically a bed of pillows, various decent little pillows, and he.
Once Melik gets a boot, Heron gets one too.
I'm already weak. It is not necessary. He stretches again, and it should be an interesting day, though. Let's just see how it goes.
Yeah, Kagan's reaching down and he grabs his battle axe when he says, "We have work to do."
Melik was already in the process of rolling up his, sleeping roll when Kagan walked in. Says, "We will be off then."
Yeah, and as you guys come out, begins to be quite a congregation forming of men. A lot of the guards and that sort of the actual caravan are here. You see Hanwell and Solomon by this extinguished fire, which is basically the middle of the camp. So Hanwell steps forward, and as everybody kind of everybody that he cares to that's arrived, and he says, "Last night was a disgrace. 3 of our numbers planned to commit horrible crimes." And you guys notice one thing that's clear is the Puntans are not there. And he says, "Against those that have refuge in our midst, I have spoken to Solomon, and we agree that these men should be shown no quarter. The man named Dirk has already fallen to one of our guards' blades, Harun." He kind of points in Harun's direction.
Harun gives a curt bow.
And he says, "And the other, this vile Peter, has absconded from camp, even though he was injured by my brother Kagan. He is nowhere to be found as of yet. But the man Shins is in chains, and I have proclaimed his life forfeit for his actions." And he looks over to Jasper, who is one of Varys's men.
And I would nod at Jasper to go grab him.
And he goes and grabs him and kind of leads him back out. What is going on? There. What? Oh, weird. Okay. So, and then he leads Chins out, and Chins is holding his hand, and he kind of pushes him forward, and Cotton kind of looks very excitable as he kind of is kind of pushed by Jasper, and then Hanny kind of towards the middle. Jasper kind of just takes a few steps back, and Hanwell says, "The punishment for these intended crimes is death. Death by beheading." And he nods to Tengwar, and Tengwar says, "I give this honor to Kagan." And he hands over this. Basically, what's the best way to describe this blade? It's almost like what would you consider a Dothraki arc? Basically, that's kind of what it looks like.
Big Kopish sword.
Yeah, is essentially with it, but it's it's straight, and then the end is a big curve, right? So a forward curve instead of a. So he hands that over to you, and Chins is like, Well, this is madness. I refuse. And he starts to kind of like go this way, and these two guys block him, and kind of shove him back. And he's like, "You bastards!"
Jasper, Brisker, hold him.
They move and grab him.
Kagan don't look happy, but at the same time, he don't look sad. He just kind of looks just like, I gotta do this. He'll take the sword and give Tengwar a nod and start making his way towards Chen's, wherever they're gonna reach the spot.
Yeah, there's like a stump. Well, not even a stump. It's actually a cut log, a large one that they have just sitting there. And these two basically just force him into a kneeling position.
Kagan will be real grim and solemn. He says, "It is not unnatural to fear death, Chins. He says, but you have to meet your maker. He says, do so with a clear conscience. Tell us what you know of Dirk and Peter's plans. Let us put an end to this besmirching of honor."
I only knew what they told me. They did not tell me who else was involved or if anyone else was involved. I do not know the plan. I could find Peter, though, if you just let me live. I know I could.
You will not weasel your way out of our Lord's sentence. You shall die this day.
And basically, Bruska just takes the top of his head and pulls it down onto the log because he's like fighting it. So he's like basically grabbing his hair, and like he kneels down to get his chin down on the log. He is fighting with everything he can, kicking, and then Jasper is the one holding his legs and whatnot. He's not going well, put it that way.
Kagan will slowly spin to where he can face his lord, and he'll look down at Chen's and grumble. He says, "The more you struggle, the more I have to whack."
Yeah, he's trying to fight to get away, but not happening.
Then he turns and he starts to raise the sword. He looks around at the men and he goes, "Let it be known that without honor you are nothing more than an animal. And much like animals, you shall be placed upon the butcher's block."
Haroon smiles.
And then Kagan won't say nothing else. He'll just raise it. When the time's right, he'll come down as hard as he can.
And in one, even because, well, actually, why don't you go ahead and roll, just for shits, go ahead and roll your battle axe roll.
You better not cut off Brisker's hands.
No, that's good enough. Yeah, so with one stroke, you take his head clean off, even though he's struggling. So it was a good blow. And everybody kind of just looks solemnly on. And Will agrees. He says out loud, "This is the life of a traitor. This is a life of a man with no honor. This is a death suited for such scum." And Kadan over there is looking like wide-eyed at this. And, you know, he's seen a lot of shit on the crossing, obviously, but probably never just straight-up execution of anyone. And everybody kind of just starts to depart and go back to their duties.
Any chance Haroon could he's kind of watching the crowd to see if there's any particular reactions that stick out amongst this, if that needs a roll or anything.
Why don't you roll observation difficulty 4 with just what's going on. It's very difficult.
Yeah. We don't have any momentum by this point, do we?
No, I don't believe you do. Go ahead and click on status and see.
Yeah.
No, we haven't
Yeah,
done
you used to
anything.
press the button. Yeah, I didn't think so. Alright. Well, let's find out. No. Yeah, he's got
No, yeah, there's just too many people around to really get a macro view of what's happening, right? With not focusing on one specific person. So, yeah, you can't really tell anything specifically. Now, if you want to go talk to anyone or do anything, you most certainly can, as people kind of leave.
Alrighty.
So if you guys don't want to, then we can move on.
Probably just pat Jasper and Briscoe on the back for handling that grim business, and then send them back to their duties.
When the time's right, Kagan will reapproach Tangwar after shaking the blood off the blade. Present it back to him.
Thank you. And he takes it, and a blow well struck.
He'll nod, just go, a fine weapon.
Ern kind of steps over that way. It was a clean kill. Good job.
And Tingwar looks at Haroon and nods in agreement and says, I prefer when they are attempting to defend themselves. And it was like, clearly he thought it was a joke, but it was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you know.
Haroon does half giggle at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite it. Personally, I find it easier. Just a dagger to the back of the neck. Silence them quickly and quietly.
And Melik just continues to kind of walk around the perimeter, just kind of eyeballing everyone and looking around the edges.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody about there. I mean, besides other camp people, right? That would normally be there, but nothing out of place for certain. And kind of as you are talking amongst yourselves and whatnot, as you're kind of speaking amongst yourself, Hanwell kind of walks over to Kagan as others are kind of departing. Sorry. And he's like, Kagan, Solomon has decided to take the hunt up for Peter himself. He will not be burdened with this.
I understand. I will keep my eyes peeled in case he decides to present a little bit of vengeance on his part towards me. I'll kind of half chuckle, like, after all, it was my arrow.
He nods and he's like, ha! Of course, brother. With these fine guards, and he kind of like looks over his shoulder at Varys and says, I do not believe they will be coming back here, or he will be coming back here. And he does kind of like wedge himself in closer between you two, kind of keeps his voice down. He's like, but I do not trust everyone in this camp.
As well as you should not. I'm assuming that the Puntan were not involved in what transpired last night?
He shakes his head. He's like, Solomon says he will tell them himself. For now, we will stay out of the matter.
Understood, brother.
And he says, but even though he is looking for this Peter, perhaps you should go into the city. See if you can find any talk of a man injured. And he's saying this under his breath now.
Yeah, he goes, Very well. Jean's and Dirk's weapons, do they become part of the tribe? I'm thinking maybe try to bribe a barber.
And he nods. And, he's like, Derek's went back to Solomon. I believe that's where they were taken, but Chins's. And he kind of like, I believe he had a scimitar, a shield, and a bow of some sort. They're in my tent. I can have them brought to you.
Only the blade. Steel can be melted down and reforged. Every good barber needs a sharp razor.
I don't suppose Haroon would be overhearing all this.
Oh yeah, you could. You were close enough.
I do not suppose a shield might come my way. I honestly have been seeking to get one for a while.
And Hanwell, hearing that, kind of like waves you forward and is like, the man they killed. One of theirs. Aye, that is the least I could do. I am Hanwell, and he extends a hand to you. Never officially meeting you before.
It is a pleasure. Haroon at your service. He shakes his hand.
You backed my friend Kagan, my brother Kagan, up well. This is not unknown to me.
It was, after all, the correct thing to do.
Indeed. And he looks at Kagan. He says, find the others that you trust, perhaps your tent mates, and he kind of shrugs, not knowing them. Take them into the city, see what you can find.
As you wish, brother.
And with that, anybody else have anything to say or do?
No, I don't.
Okay. So, pretty much everybody else go about their business, leaving you four together in one way or another. People are going to start disappearing here. Let me know what you guys want to do.
Yeah, just know eventually Kagan will approach you all and let you know. He says, our Lord has told us that we are to go into town. Even despite Solomon's wishes, we are just going to look to see if anybody has heard anything of Peter.
Oh, yes. There are many temples in the city. Temples where he could seek treatment for his wounds.
Well, I do not know if he would go to such obvious places, given his taste. Although, given his taste as well, and the sort of temples I've heard are around, may be exactly where he went.
I don't think he's very particular with having an arrow through his chest.
True,
Well, there is another place that a man of his kind of standing would go to. It is called the Fox's Den. Although they call it the Fox's Den, it is more a den of snakes.
It sounds as comfortable as home.
He may attempt to go there as well.
I could gather a couple of my men. They could be spared to come along. Strength in numbers.
I would certainly not mind a good stroll. I've yet to explore much of the city. This is a fine opportunity.
It is a beautiful city. It is a wonderful city. And one day it will be returned to its glory once the rule of Renvir has ceased.
You may wish to be a bit more quiet, given the circumstance of the city as it is. Or at least more cautious.
Melek spits when he says that. Quiet. Renvir is a dog. I am not going to be quiet.
I seek only your safety.
Kagan will just shake his head, look at Haroon, and go, then he will be the first to go.
I think you have the right of it.
I'll gather my men. reconvene soon and then leave, I suppose.
I suppose so.
So are you guys thinking of going to the Fox's Den? Or is that where you're going to
Yeah.
first go? All right.
Yeah, I'm thinking if he has coin. I'm thinking if he has coin, he's gone to a barber. If he doesn't have coin, he's either gone to a butcher or, see if he has friends or allies there. Fox's Den.
I would I'd probably speak with Solomon first, because this is technically our mission anyway. Just let him know my intention.
Okay,
And
well,
then,
let's do that. Let's do that.
sure.
Do you want to roleplay that then?
Sure.
Okay. So let me just pull out his token, see if something reference. Are you all going to go talk to Solomon, or just you, Varys?
Alright, I was thinking just me, probably.
Okay.
Since I'm...
I don't, because I was told Solomon was supposed to handle investigation himself.
I don't suppose Haroon could eavesdrop.
If Varys tells you that's where he's going, it makes it clear. If not, then I don't.
I
think
wasn't
you'd have
telling
a
anybody.
reason.
I was
Yeah,
just
then
gonna
I
do
don't.
it.
I don't think you'd have a reason to
Yeah.
follow him.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay, so Solomon is basically at this well, and he's just kind of drawing this water up. And he sees it, and he's like, Captain Varys. Nasty business that last night.
Indeed. I'm glad we acted as quickly as we did. It's unfortunate that we didn't get Peter, but... well, we'll get him.
He just nods and... Yes, you can never be too careful on who you hire these days. And he looks grim as he pulls the water out and sits the bucket down next to him.
True enough. You can trust us, though.
Us? Your men, you mean?
I, myself, my men.
So far, that is true. Hard to know who you can trust these days.
Your money's good, your food's good, you can trust us. And just sort of ribbing him a bit, giving him kind of a hard time, but half smirk.
Yeah, he's kind of looking at you blankly at this point.
I wanted to seek your permission to take a few of my men to the city, and perhaps find this fool before he causes any more trouble for the caravan.
Yes, I was going to contact the local commander of the guard, but I don't see how that could hurt.
I would leave Arminius in charge of those who remain. I'll take Bruska and Jasper.
Very well.
Anything you need me to take care of, I'm in the city, sir.
He scratches his beard and thinks about it for a moment. I cannot think of anything. Not yet. Things are going slowly here, but eventually we will need to resupply.
Have you heard any news from the Puntans?
I'm trying to keep them, well, it would be best if they knew little. Tona came to me and, well, told me you had warned him, which was wise, but I don't want them to know everything. That there could be more conspirators. The woman is precious, and if she is harmed, well, it would go badly.
It will not come to that.
That tent, Captain, must never be entered by a non-Puntan. That is my decree. It is their decree. If it would happen, many bad things would occur.
I'll tell Arminius to make sure it does not happen.
Good, Captain. It means your job here, or worse, for all of us.
I would nod. I'll take my leave, sir.
Good hunting, then. While you're in there, actually, he goes, save me a trip. Talk to the Commander Dardis.
You know where he would be in the city?
I believe his office is in their barracks.
I'll speak with him on your behalf. You wanted me to have him search for better?
Yes, it can't hurt. He owes me a small favor.
It will be done, sir. I would nod. And go, collect Briska and Jasper.
They will come with you. Alright, guys. So you're going to head to the Fox's Den. So just to give you kind of a reference of where that is. So this is your map when it loads here. There you go. So if you scroll down, you have a key here. This is the key of the city. 25 is where the Fox's Den is. So it's kind of right in the middle of the city.
Mm-hmm.
It is a gambling house. Melech, why don't you tell them about the Fox's Den, what you know?
The Fox's Den. It is a house of vice. Gambling, drink, women. But more frequently, people come now for the gladiatorial fights. Men beating and killing each other for money, for coin, for women. The place rings of death and smells of blood. It is usually where someone goes if they want to hide from the guards. They leave it alone because they have bets going on there that allow them to make money. So they let them go about their business without disturbing it.
And after that description, that is where we're going to end the session for tonight.
All right.
Ah.